No one was going natural yet. So this was as good as it could be. And I was like, I guess this is what my hair looks like. And then in adulthood, I'm like, I was ugly for no reason.
Hello and welcome to the Roast of Your Teenage Self podcast. I am your host, your roast coming queen, a girl who deeply believed that if she could just meet Adam Brody, he would love her, Alise Morales. And with us today, we have such a funny friend. She's a comedian, an actress, an author, a YouTuber, a podcaster, and co-host of What a Day on Crooked Media. But before all of that, she was a graduate of Boone County High School. It's Akilah Hughes.
Hey, everybody. So happy to be here. I similarly thought that Seth Cohen should be my husband, so I feel you.
He's come up on the podcast before because of how much he touched so many teenagers' lives with that role, but I could go off about him forever. Boone County High School, what mascot are we working with?
Okay, so Boone County High School, in my time there was the Rebels, but not like Rebel without a cause, Rebels like the Confederate general. So, yeah, and I was in that sweet spot after they were like, we're gonna, people don't love the Confederate flag being the literal flag that our mascot's carrying, so we're gonna make it like light blue and dark blue instead of red and blue. And I'm like, right, it's still a Confederate flag.
Yeah.
We know what it's supposed to be.
He's from Texas. He's Texas.
He's just a guy from Texas hanging out in Kentucky. I'm like, yeah.
Our mascot is a guy from Texas.
Well, exactly, yeah. And that was like, there was absolutely a suspension of disbelief, I would say, from everybody. There's, just like, it's not racist. I'm like, it's pretty racist. Don't think it's a thing we can debate.
Has it changed now?
Yes. And so this is actually like, it's kind of a bummer for the podcast because it's so much fun, but it changed to, they're still the Rebels technically, but Mr. Rebel, who is this general, no longer exists. And here is my belief as to why it no longer exists. Because I had called, I'm like, you guys should change it to the Boone County Biscuits. Like, it's a Southern heritage thing. That's great. Everybody loves a biscuit. It's funny. It's kind of forever.
Too.
Right? I'd buy that merch.
On the fields. Who's not going to love that when a little biscuit comes out?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, when we beat like a team that's like the Falcons, I'm like, yeah, the Biscuits beating the Falcons is kind of a big deal. So, I had all of this, energy behind changing this mascot forever since I went to school there, and they never wanted to do it, and there were all of these excuses for why not. And then that Charlottesville rally that killed Heather Heyer, well, the man who was driving that car is from 10 minutes away from the high school and went to another school in the area. And so there was a very quick and quiet sort of bait and switch of like, what mascot? No. He would have never gotten any sort of the South will rise again vibes from us. And I'm like, pretty sure he did.
I love this idea of you coming back home and being like, where's Mr. Rebel? And everyone just being like,
yes, exactly. I haven't heard that.
We know not.
Exactly.
Totally. What happened to the guy who was on everybody's shirts and shit?
Yeah, I'm like, I still have some weird, ugly clothes that say BCHS from my tenure here. And
no, you go into your drawer and they don't have anything on the shirts.
Yeah, it's all gone. It's like the Mandela
They're
effect.
all faded away.
It was a really expensive, it was a very expensive ruse. I mean, what's also kind of wild is like this all happened sort of at the same time that our local zoo, which is the Cincinnati Zoo, was doing their marketing campaign to stop people from talking about Harambe so much.
So what were your activities at that time? What extracurriculars, etc.?
Fully. So I would say that, babysitting my nephew was a big part of my high school experience. So where other teens might have cool pictures on the weekend drinking or I don't know, reading the Bible, I had just like photos of me with like a baby, and people would just think it was my baby because it was Kentucky and they're backwards. They're like, oh, you're a teen, you're a black girl, and you're 13, so that must be your 2-year-old. I'm like, what are you talking about? Y'all are crazy.
This is my cousin.
Yeah, I'm like, this is literally not my child. Like, I'm a baby. I'm the baby. And so that was a chunk of it. But as far as extracurriculars go, I was like super involved, I would say before and after his like first and second year of life. And so I did choir, but I was in concert choir. We had like a show choir, which was the cool football guys and the hot girls who were cheerleaders, not really like they were lip syncing, but they would dance, and like everyone cared to see them.
Okay.
Uh, yeah,
That
and
is
then there was
not what
something
our show choir did at all. Our show choir
really,
wore weird old like gowns, and
yeah.
they just were like
Horrible.
the fancier, like you had to audition to be in show choir, but they didn't dance.
Oh. Oh wow. See, we had auditions for all of our choirs. We had three. And so show choir was like, you're cool and you're not really singing, so like you don't have to be vulnerable at any point.
So this was
And
like
people,
Glee for the show. Like they
yeah.
were okay.
It was like fully like, yeah, like they had like cute outfits and the girls could like twirl and they would get picked up and I'm like, "Oh wow." And then they had girls ensemble, which was like the girls who could sing and dance. And then like no, apparently men aren't allowed to have their own ensemble. So it was just like girls ensemble. I'm like, could it be girls, gays, and theys ensemble? Like, could it at
Yeah.
least be like
Yeah, it's like
broader?
you
If we
could
could,
just make it the ensemble at that point. Like
right?
it's
Like, what's the benefit if they're at least actually singing? It is choir, and then I was in the lowest rung, I would say on the like hierarchy of cool kids, which was
Mhm.
concert choir, which was also all women, and we did sing. There was no dancing, and luckily the year that I started doing it, they had gotten rid of the sort of like matronly gowns and like
Okay.
awkward terrible songs, and so like they were trying to get hipper. So we had like kind of cute, like Britney Spears-esque outfits, but we were mostly standing there.
By Britney Spears-esque, like oops, I did it again. Like what?
Okay, yeah, I should probably quantify that. I would I would say it was the closest iteration would be her outfit in the Crazy music video where it's like the
Okay.
green top and the pants.
Ah,
There wasn't midriff because like, teens look like everything.
mhm. Yeah.
Those pictures are forever. So I think they were just like, it'll touch the pants. And then when we were like trying them on, they were literally the green satin top and then like black velvet pants, and then it was like a silver white top and then
I
black.
I
Yeah, like
know
it
the
was
look
still a little
you're
corny.
talking about. I feel like Jessica Simpson rocked this type
A
of look
million percent.
often.
Yes. And of
Like,
course, the black bottoms were flares. Like,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And no uniform shoes. Like, people were looking like everything up there. And we also always had a prop. Like, I think that the first concert we had like a cowboy hat, and I'm like the only black person in the choir. So the photo,
You're
it's
like,
just like,
cool.
yeah.
Like, no,
I'm like,
this school is definitely a mixed experience for me for sure.
yeah, fully, fully. And I'm like, oh wow, this is a disaster. And then yeah, I'm like, why did we have to sing country music? And then also like country ballads that were very old. There was a song called Grandpa that I was like, this isn't for me.
Was it
Shout out
about
to
loving your grandpa?
it was like, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Like we just want
Oh
to sit on the
no.
porch. I'm like,
Oh
I'm
no.
like, what good day? Who's Grandpa? We ask.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me more about this grandpa and his history.
Exactly. Yeah. Amen. Yeah. Everything was sketch. And then, and for Christmas we had Santa hats, which is funny because it's like there was never even a little bit of ambiguity about holidays. It was just like Christian holidays. It's Kentucky.
That's interesting. Like I think about that because I remember I did my like very early years when I was a little kid in LA. My parents
Mhm.
like got married and
Oh.
moved out there, and I remember even in public school in LA, we had overt Christmas play, Christmas stuff.
Fully,
like
fully.
like
It,
full which I don't think is happening in public
no.
schools in LA now because I my first role that I ever played was in our Christmas play, which was about an elf named Elphys who was just like Elvis, and everyone
Oh.
was rude to him. And I said, Elphys, get on out of here.
I love that for you. I think my first role in like a school production would have been like third grade. It was a speaking role, but it was like again like one line. I do not remember the line. Um, but the play was called The Mice of Mozart. And so it was a lot of songs about these mice that lived in like the floorboards. And so our outfits were giant black trash bags with like a little bit of lipstick on our nose and like black lines. And we're just like, we are the mice of Mozart. And then we'd all go up to the microphone one at a time as if that's how a play is supposed to work and say our line and then stand back and like,
that
yeah.
that is how plays were in elementary school. You just walked up, said your line wearing a paper costume, and then just kind of went back.
Exactly. And I'm like, we did it. That was the whole play. And then the rest
Whew.
of it, it's just like you looking around, like we're in plastic bags, like it's hot. Just like me, just like airing it out on stage.
So were you when talking about extracurriculars, were you a theater kid?
Oh, fully. I was in speech and drama. So
Okay.
it was sort of like, there was the fall, I think it was only actually a spring play that I auditioned for and did not get. And also like kind of grateful because the plays that they chose, again, it's Kentucky, were always just like whatever the budget, like we have the right to perform this at our school. Like I remember they did Clue the musical, which like I'm not sure if you know that this is even a thing,
I
but
did
it
not know it was a
famously
musical.
flopped.
I will say that my high school did an unauthorized stage production of the Clue movie that I was
Oh,
in,
I
that we
love
had to
that.
call Hint.
Oh
Fully.
my God.
That
And that's the thing. It's like I loved Clue the movie, growing up. So I was like, this is gonna be just like it. And then like I started hearing the music because my best friend was like this girl who was a grade below me, but like one of those girls who was just like so hot in high school. Like she could have been 20 and just like every boy in the school was like, who is that? And
yeah.
so of course she got to be in the play and she played a French maid, like as in the movie. And I just sang a song that was like My Life is a Bowl of Cherries. And it was like a very like seductive. I was like, this is messed up. And like all the weird gross teachers were like, yeah, I like that song. I'm like, of course you do. But yeah, so I was like a person who was like painting the background because I just wanted to hang out.
Mhm.
But speech and drama, like, we called it forensics. I think some places still call it that. That was my jam. That was like my people.
So was that like what makes it speech and drama versus drama? Like were you doing like debate and stuff in that?
Yeah, like it was like this big
Cool.
umbrella of like weekend events of, they had Congress, so it's like you would present your bill and then the Congress would vote on it and then you could win an award. And I'm like, I hate this. Like, do not like this one. I tried it for like a weekend and I'm like, this is boring. Everybody here's dumb. I don't like any of your resolutions. Like, we need to protect like some salmon in like some very small creek in their like local Kentucky town. And I'm like, we're not saying yes to that.
No,
If
no,
this is
no.
a real Congress, this should be handled somewhere else. Like, throw it out.
How dare
Uh,
you bring this to us when we've got stuff on our plate? The Iraq War
exactly.
is raging, sir.
Literally. I'm like, this is unimportant. When you're talking about fish, I'm just hearing that you think they're ugly. I don't care about the mercury poisoning. Go to Kroger and get over it.
Yeah.
And so that was definitely a big part of it. But we did like improvs. We had like it was a short form improv. Like,
Mhm.
here's a suggestion. You get a few minutes to like literally plot the scene and then perform it.
Yeah.
And then like, extemporaneous speaking, oratory where you're writing these 8 minute sort of speeches, declamation where you're performing these 8 to 10 minute speeches. And then a bunch of other like dramatic interpretation. I can't believe I'm remembering names
I
of these
don't, this is so
categories. I'm like,
so what like form did this take in your life? Like a class at school and then stuff after school as
yeah,
well?
totally. Fully, yes. And like I would say that that's maybe the unique experience I had at least senior year where I took classes that were both semesters. So it's like we had 4 quarters a day is how we
Mhm.
did the classes. They were long ass classes and usually you'd have 8 in a year. I had 4 the whole year. And it was like choir for the big first block. And then the second block I think was AP psychology. And then it was then I had yearbook, which is just like fucking around taking pictures of people and going
Yeah.
on like trips with the band. On the weekend, it'd be like taking pictures of them competing. And like I didn't know how to use the cameras at all, so like all the pictures were just like black. And I'm
Were
like,
you able to
why?
like
Let's go.
get yourself and your friends in the yearbook more though?
Yes. And that is the thing that I like remember like when I look back, I'm like I'm not friends with any of these people now, but like I look at it, I'm like literally I took all the photos. And I was like the whole school was 7 students.
That's what
They're
I
in every team.
needed. Like I needed someone on yearbook.
Hmm. Oh
I
yeah.
there's one like good picture. Well, it's a good picture of me and then it's a funny picture of me walking down the hall of my high school with my best friend and I'm wearing a children's Spider-Man t-shirt and
Yes.
like full studded belt. I'm like
Yes.
ready.
Yeah, like you're like, I look good today. They better
Oh, and
take the
I
pic.
oh, bootcut jeans. I knew that I looked amazing in that shirt.
Yes. You were like, this is the one. I had like several shirts like that. They were from, I think it was maybe Delia's or like whatever the store was at the time, the cheapest store where you could get like a t-shirt for $5 and it was like literally made out of like flammable materials. And I
Delia
was just like,
killed me. I would look at that catalog so much, and I would always be like, "Mom, please buy me stuff from the Delia's catalog," and she would be like, "No, it's
yeah, like
really
it's not.
expensive."
Yeah, I mean that was the thing. It was like I remember when I would babysit. I think the most money I ever got in a weekend was like $40, and I was like, "We're going ham." I spent the whole day like incrementally spending like $1.50 at every store. And I remember I got this T-shirt that was brown that had, and then it had like an outline of Scooby Doo or something, and I was like, "This is cool. This is what the cool girls wear." Because there was like some other, I don't know, hot actual teen that like people cared about who had the same shirt, but she had the pink one with the Pink Panther on it, and I was like, I'll wear the brown one. I'm like, no one is looking at my brown t-shirt.
But
No one
that
cares
was
though.
like, did you live in that like pop punk aesthetic
Fully.
world? Because
Hmm.
that was like a big deal. Is like, I'm gonna be into kids stuff, and I'm gonna wear a
Totally.
t-shirt with kids
Yes.
stuff on it. Which I think
Fully. It was
still,
like
I think
early
our generation
nostalgia.
is actually still doing that. So
Yeah, like I think what's funny. Here's my dumb theory about this is that maybe it's really sound, but I'm like I think because the internet became so pervasive as we were like growing up,
Mhm.
it was the first time that nostalgia was something that you could actually like bank on, where it's like, oh my gosh, I can look up a video of like this commercial or like talk to people online and be like, do you remember this game from this stupid class? It was Jazz Jackrabbit, and people are like, yes.
Yeah, like it, or hearing a recording of the AOL sound, which I would
Yes.
like
Oh my gosh.
never have heard again. Like I'm never gonna use dial up to like hear that again. But
Totally.
you're so right. Do you remember what your like early websites were that you
Yeah.
used back in the day?
Yeah, I'm not super proud. So I think I remember like I don't know if this is a real place. There's something called like Quizilla maybe, or like it was kind of like
Yes.
an early Survey Monkey. So you just like ask a dumb question, be like, okay guys, fill it out. And so I would build like little like geo sites or it's GeoCities, I don't even know how you say it. And it would just be
Yes.
like dumb little surveys, and I'd be like, one person answered, wow, like people are visiting my website.
Amazing.
I'm Bill Gates. So yeah, I felt really great about that. But I would say high school for me was so live journal. It was like every day after school, I'm like, I have to see who in my friend group is posting. There was always like somebody throwing shade at someone, and I'd be like, what is this
Yes.
like cryptic drama? Who are they talking about? And then like their bad poetry, and I'm like, that was so good, Allie. Like everything was always the biggest deal.
I was also on Live Journal, not Zanga. Me and my friend group were all Live Journal. And yeah, I remember I would like write like, well, I really think that Lainey was being a bitch today. And then she would be like, why did you say that? And I'm like, that's my Live Journal. I can say whatever I want.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And I also just I think it's like I learned how to be more less overt with what I was talking about only because I was like, oh shit, people are really starting to realize I'm talking shit here. So it would just be like code names for people and they would still figure it out and then like confront me
Yeah.
at my locker like, Akilah, that was really hurtful what you said about Aubrey yesterday. And I'm like, well, I said it.
Yeah. And it's also
Call the internet police.
I there was so many places where you could start shady drama, like your AIM profile.
Huge, major.
Huge place to start drama, depending on what like did your friend group like you would copy paste if someone would said something funny, you would put it in your profile as
Yes.
like a
Oh,
funny thing they
totally.
said in conversation, and like if you could get in someone's profile, that's like honestly
Yeah.
sweeter than a retweet.
Fully. Yeah, it's like because it's so important. And also like the away messages were just up longer. And like,
Yeah.
it's that thing where you're on AIM and you're like, everyone's on here. Like even the people I'm not friends with, we exchange names at some point. So like they could just read the away message and be like, oh, Akilah had a
Yeah.
pretty good one at drama class.
Oh, whoa, I just saw so and so's profile and pretty funny dig.
Yes, and I always loved like when I would have a crush on a boy, I'd have that notification sound on where it was like the door creaking open, like, "Er," and I'm like, oh my God, run from across the room to be like,
Remember
hello.
any crushes screen names? And I ask because I remember that the boy who I had that notification on for the longest, his screen name was DJ School Ditcher.
Oh my God. I'm obsessed with that being the screen name. You know what's so funny? I don't remember. I know who I talked
Well,
to the most, and a lot of them were their actual names, right? But then there was
boys
like
aren't
one
fun.
boy who's
Aren't
like,
as fun.
right.
DJ's school teacher is unique, and he spelled it like all up and down letters and
Oh
stuff,
yeah,
all
that's tight.
lowercase and uppercase and stuff.
Yeah, and you have like the little wiggly line in it, and you're like, okay, like
Yeah, and he had, you know, those little like, remember they were like little buddy icons. He
yeah,
had
little
one that
circles
said
that were like,
fuck or something. Like he had like a edgy one, and I
oh
was just,
yeah,
oh, kiss me
yes.
now.
You're like, you relate to me, you understand the importance of upkeep on this site. You get it. You're not just willy-nilly with it, all right? You're intentional with your page. And I felt that. I mean, yeah, there were a lot of I feel like the boys in my town were incredibly unoriginal, but the girls were always like so good. Like my best friend's last name in high school was like Miller, and
Mhm,
she's still my best friend. She's like my forever friend.
mhm,
And I remember hers was like it's Miller time, and then like the birth year, whatever it is, like 88,
mhm.
whatever. And I was just remember being like, that's so fly. Like there's nothing for Hughes, but you know.
What do you remember your screen name?
Oh yeah, I was Kiwi Rabbit Fruit one.
Okay.
Very
That's
dumb. It was like well, it was like a childhood nickname, and then the one was just like I'm from the internet. I know we can put a number here, and I'm like, there's not gonna be a Kiwi Rabbit Fruit too. Like
Punk rock show 515,
exactly.
baby.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I loved it. Oh, I remember days and days and like late nights my mom would be like, what are you doing, like, and my mom's online all the time now, like
Mhm.
she's like keyboard warrior for Facebook, just like you're wrong, and I'm like those people aren't real. um
Yeah.
but like at the time she's like I don't get what you're doing, and I'm like my whole life is this. My whole
Yeah,
life, mom.
I'm bearing my soul to the world on here.
Exactly, I'm figuring out how to get boys to like me.
Were you a writer at this time? Because, like, I know, you know, you've written a book, you write your own material, all of this stuff. Like, what was your relationship with, like, because I could see you being like a fiction press girl or like a fiction
Ooh.
girl.
Okay. Yeah. See, here's the thing. Not really. And like, I think that that's one of the, yeah, I mean, maybe I could unpack this with a therapist, but I don't remember liking reading in high school just because the books that were always chosen for classes, I'm like, I don't care about Holden Caulfield. It doesn't matter to me even a little. Like Heart of Darkness, I get what you're doing.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to write an essay. It doesn't matter that much to me, maybe, you know? Yeah, like the idea that you have a forced essay on something you don't care about is such a school thing that I'm like, I might have written more if I gave a shit about any of the stuff. If I
Right?
had one say in any of it.
It is
And
crazy to think about the fact of being the skill of having to write an essay about something you don't care about at all.
at all,
Because as
at
an adult,
all.
if you're writing an essay, you care about the thing that you're
Yeah.
writing an essay about.
Right. Like, unless you are like, it's your first day at a job and they're like, you're going to write about garbage. You don't care. Also, though, like, you would work at a publication that cares about what you care about. Like, you'd at least try to. I just feel
Yeah.
like it's so, in my professional working at different digital media sites, it was always because they like saw what I liked to write about. So it was weird that like back then I'm like, I had no clue what I liked writing about. It was mostly just like AIM messages and, little dumb, like, oh, I'll fill out this quiz about who I am and then like send them the link.
Yeah.
It was all very narcissistic. It was pre-BuzzFeed, BuzzFeed. Like it was, I'm gonna figure out who I am by virtue of dumb quizzes on the internet. I'm like, I am the girl character from Looney Tunes. And I am like it's just a lot of that. All of
Turns
my
out
identity was that.
I'm Hermione.
Yeah. Breaking news. I'm the girl in this.
There's a girl and I'm her.
I'm
Um,
every woman, and that's not what the song is about, but it'd be hilarious if it was like there's only one in each thing, so I must be.
so okay, when you were in this what is it called? Speech and drama?
Yeah, forensics.
Okay. What forensics? Were you did you have a particular thing that was like your sport of it?
Fully,
Mhm.
fully. I had two. It was declamation, which is like the 10 minutes. It was like a 8 to 10 minute speech that someone else had written. So it's like it has been read out loud before at some point in history, and it can be anybody at any kind of level. Um, and so I had one that was like about racism, which I'm like ahead of the times. But it was just like, stop stereotyping people. The media needs to reflect us, whatever. And so I was just like, I remember, I mean, you would practice all the time after school and like have people be like, at this point, you should walk to your next point. And so I just remember it was like, it to me, it was like Beyonce's homecoming. It's just like, all right, you're up. And I like get up from the desk in my like very nice pinstripe suit. And I'd like turn around and be like, okay, like, let's do this. And then just like perform the hell out of it. And I won a lot. Like it was, and you want your whole school to win. It's like a bunch of different tournaments, and then it's kind of the Olympics, I guess. And like
Yeah.
we all do different stuff, but you want Team USA.
Hmm.
Do you
Hmm.
anymore? I don't know. But like at that point, we totally did.
Yes.
And so I was super into that. And then improv duo was like, I mean, there were like stakes for that because there were people at every school who were just like the best. And so I didn't always win that one. Like me and my partner didn't always win, but
So
we
was
won
that
a
like
lot.
improv comedy with the two of you? Like you would come
Yeah.
up with a scene or something?
Fully, yeah. Like they'd be like, here's a suggestion or like a situation. Like
Hmm.
a mother and daughter are talking about this and it has to be like comedic. And I'm like, okay. So then we like have 3 minutes to like turn our backs and be like, okay, so like here are the plot points. And then like, you'll just like this will be the part where we turn, but like all the rest of it in here will be the movement, the touching, the discussion, the scene.
Hmm.
And I just remember being like, I mean, I'd never seen anything like it. And also, like, it's not like UCB, like I took those classes and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's way more in depth. Like, first of all, you're not getting a whole, like, the mom comes in at 5 o'clock to say, like, you get a whole damn situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was just like this thing of like, you have to be so clever and you also have to be so aware of like what the audience is experiencing while you're performing. And so it's like, if it's boring, wrap it up or try something else. But you have like 5 minutes to do the scene. And so basically the tournaments would always go 3 rounds. No
Hmm.
one cares. But it was 3 rounds and then a final. So it was like four total if you made it to the finals. And you would either have like a comedic first round, a dramatic second round, and the comedic third round, and then the final round would be dramatic. And you're like, for me, I was always fucked because I'm like, I'm gonna laugh. I can't cry on cue. No one's really teaching acting. Like we're just teaching winning.
So
So
what
I'm
would
like, okay,
like a
fine.
dramatic, they would be like, your father is leaving. Like,
Totally, yeah. Like
oh my
it would be like
God.
somebody's father's leaving, or like the electricity got cut off for these poor people. Just like
Oh
5 minutes
no.
of that, and I'm like, a lot of kids who, I mean, it's Kentucky, so a lot of people have been poor, so it's like they can have very specific like language they're using, but it's also like we're not fully developed humans yet, so it's so like base level that I'm like, how do you even have a first place in this?
Yeah, it's just kind of a lot to ask, like to blanket ask a bunch of teenagers to go there when you don't really know like what their situation is.
Right, right. It seems kind of traumatizing and like it's not a skill set that's transferable. Like if I was writing it, great. I just wrote a great scene. But
Yeah.
it's just like this is what I would say if I got evicted. Like what is that for? Is somebody taking notes in the audience and they're gonna be like, I'm gonna say that when I'm best evicted. Not a thing that you
So
can use.
was your friend group mostly coming from like these activities or like who was the
Fully.
crew?
Yeah, my crew was definitely like a band of misfits. And I would say that like it was always somebody like I had an alliance in every class, but I also like for choir, it was like me, these twin girls, Autumn and Amber, and then like my friend Amanda. It was like a tight group. And like we weren't especially cool, but we were like we listened to different music and we're like interesting and like, if somebody's going to McDonald's before school, they'll like bring it in for like the choir, but I'll just like give them $1.50 for an egg McMuffin.
Mhm.
Like it was like and like, we would carpool and things. So that was a big chunk of it. And then I guess the other main class, it was like, yeah, it was like speech and drama, which also was a period in the day. It was like you would have this hour and a half where we would have more time to practice and just like totally alliances there, where there were like, I mean, there was one guy in the class who literally no one liked. And like it was just like clearly just we were like, he's not talented, good, smart, interesting, he smells, he sucks. And like at the time I'm like, are we being too hard on this person? But I'm like, my instinct says no. I will tell you, Elise. I will tell you, Elise. I was on Facebook the other day,
Mhm.
and this person has gotten arrested for like child pornography and like being like a
Oh,
pedophile. And I'm like, we were all aware, we were all kids, and we were like, you're gross. Like something about you's fucked up. And the teacher I remember was always trying to curb like the bullying. Like we weren't trying to get him to kill himself. We were just like, don't talk to us. Like the things you want to talk about are weird. You're gross. Like we could just feel
Yeah,
it. And
you
I'm
were
like,
the red flags were up.
yeah,
The red flags were fully up.
right.
Can
And
I say that
yeah,
this is a
go
crazy
ahead.
story? But there was so there was a
Dark.
it's crazy. There was a kid from my high school named Zach who I knew because he was like another alternative person around the school. He wore like the big baggy Hot Topic
Oh
pants.
yeah,
You
yep.
know,
I know
and like
exactly what you
anyone
mean.
who wore those pants, like we were in kind of an alliance, even if we
Yeah, where
weren't
you're like, I see you, I
friends.
see you.
You
You're
got
gonna
it.
call bullshit on some stuff. Yep.
Um, after uh school, and just to paint the picture, this is like a tall, gangly white kid. He joined Al Shabaab and went to federal prison.
Whoa, whoa. I feel like every school had like several people who had just like, what was that? Like it was like a weird
Whoa!
where I'm like,
Everyone was like, "Yo, have you seen what happened to Zach?"
yes. And you know what's crazy too? There was a kid in my AP Psych class who got arrested by the FBI for like torrenting stuff. Like,
Oh
and it was
no!
like a big day at the school. Like, did you see the SWAT people with their FBI jackets? And I'm like, for music, so we were all like spooked. I mean, like fully like delete LimeWire, wipe the computer. Like, I
I
ran
remember
home.
like really being worried that I was gonna get arrested for pirating like a movie or
Same.
music or something. I was like very. It didn't stop me from using LimeWire and downloading
Yeah,
music.
no, I'm like, I've fucked up a lot of computers that
Oh,
like got
hundreds
viruses.
of viruses on my family computer.
Yes, yes, fully. I'm like, my mom's like, why is it a brick again? I'm like, I guess it's just a bad computer. I
Yeah,
guess
I
that's
don't
what it
know.
is.
Maybe you're going to weird websites.
Yeah,
I
like you should probably stop visiting that stuff, mom. She's like, I'm never on. We're just fighting about me gaslighting her
Absolutely.
fully.
I've never downloaded anything. I don't know, mom. Like,
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think that we can. Like, I don't think our computer can download stuff.
I broke my family computer one time because I downloaded so many of those. Like, do you remember you could make little like cartoon girls
Oh, fully.
that you
Yeah,
could
they
put
were
on
super
like
cute.
your GeoCities website or whatever? I made
Yes, and
so
they had the
many of
big
them.
shoes,
Yeah,
sparkly.
I
Mm.
made so many that it broke the computer.
They're like, we can't process all this flash.
Yeah, literally, because
It's
so
just too
many of
much.
them, they were like all moving at
Moving
the
too much
same
is just
time,
like
and I like had
immediately.
them on the desktop, and it broke. The computer
I
just
love that. I love that. To me, that is like, that is such a thing that this next generation doesn't understand. Like Gen Z will, they're like, what do you mean it took an hour to load a photo? What do you mean your computer could break because something moved too much? And I'm like, yeah, everything was really delicate. Like there was also a fear of technology because we're like, oh my God, it's $1 billion for a computer. Like if this thing breaks, I'm screwed.
Yeah, and it was like a complete mystery. Every single
Yeah.
all of us were Derek Zoolander, like as the monkey, just being like, the files are in the computer.
Right, right. Exactly. I had no clue how to work anything. So yeah, that checks out for me.
All right, let's look through some of these photos that we have of
Hmm.
you because we have some good ones that I think
Oh, yes.
encapsulate the MySpace era very well, actually. So let's go to this first one.
Oh, goodness. Here we
Here
go.
we go.
That's that good stuff. Um,
Here's Teen Akilah with the word poop written on her
exclamation
hand.
point. Exclamation point as well.
This
Yeah,
feels like a MySpace user photo to me.
it was. It was. This would have been when I would have just turned 16 here. So like another thing that we don't have to unpack, but I skipped 2 grades to go to high school. So I was also younger that whole time.
Oh,
Um,
wow. That's okay. That is actually huge.
yeah, it's a major like it's a reason why I wasn't at all the parties getting drunk and having like maybe bigger experiences. But I was like, here's my party. I'm gonna sneak in the back of the band picture and go and like for my yearbook class, and then I'll just like sit next to a cute boy, and then we'll like cuddle, and that'll be my whole like romantic life.
Life.
So this was my freshman year of college. And of course, everyone was like, "Your MySpace picture's got to get up. Like, you only get 5, or like I think it was 3 at first." So I was like, "Well,
Mhm.
that one's great."
This
Mm.
well, the thing that says MySpace to me as well is like the saturation on the
Oh,
photo. Like
so
I will
bright.
like put the saturation all the way up on my
Yeah.
photos and do like
So,
highlights, this.
Yes. Yes, and the lip gloss is so bright. Also, I will like, my hair now, you can't tell here. I do have big, curly, beautiful hair, but this stringy shit was like, no one was going natural yet. So this was as good as it could be. And I was like, I guess this is what my hair looks like. And then in adulthood, I'm like, I was ugly for no reason. I want to
It
talk to
didn't have to
somebody
be
about
this
it.
way. Yeah, like
Yes.
I still straighten my hair on occasion because I have curly hair as well.
Yeah.
And when I was in high school, I was straightening it, so I was
To
killing it.
death. To death. Yeah. Like I
Just
remember it yelling, like it would crackle, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the good stuff. And I'm like, it is screaming for help.
I straightened my hair wet, and it would go like
Yo.
this is
I've
fun.
done it one time and I was like, oh, it doesn't dry your hair.
No, it
It
doesn't
just,
dry your hair. It actually just fucks your hair
yeah,
up.
it just boils it off. It just
It
crunches to
makes
death.
it I don't know if you've ever accidentally put a Barbie in the dryer, which
Oh,
I've
fully. Yeah. Like you're like, oh,
it
that hair's
really
not
gives
hair.
your hair the Barbie in the dryer quality that nobody's looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Never featured in a magazine as a thing we should all try. I'll say that.
No. And then I was dyeing my own hair at that time and bleaching it myself. Let's look at this next photo. I kept
Oh,
this one in because these you two are cute. Who's your
oh,
friend?
oh my God. So this is also college. It was like a cool little party. I mean, it was also like a small school. So we had dances. We didn't have like house parties. And so it was like the first dance, it was like a mixer. And this is my roommate, Amy.
You guys have like a cute black and white aesthetic. So
Even friendship was
yeah, yeah, I'm actually
fully.
talking about you personally.
Yeah, and also like the fact that we chose to match at the dance, it's like in hindsight, I'm like, if people thought we were dating, that would absolutely make sense to me. But the truth was, I was just like, you always look so cool. I'm now in college and I have $5 for this t-shirt. Let's get like matching outfits. Like I just wanted to be Mary Kate and
Also,
Ashley
were
so bad.
you like super young in college? Were you like a teenager
Yeah.
in college?
I was. So this would have been like, yeah, probably 16 years old, and like no one knew it, even her as my roommate. It was like this like full secret, and it came out when I was finally 18, and she was like, "Why didn't you just tell me?" And I'm like, "Because you wouldn't have treated me like a friend." Like it was this whole like after school drama.
What- So, did you like live on campus the full?
Yeah.
So you just
Like I
fully
was in
went
the
to college
dorms.
at 16.
Yeah, yeah, and no one knew. Like I remember actually the first day of college, freshman year, was my birthday, and so it was like, okay, everybody do a fun fact about like who you were in college, or like yeah, going around the room, like introduce yourselves. And I was like, oh, I'm Akilah, and today's my birthday. Like, how old are you, Akilah? And I'm like, I don't really want to say. They're like, so you're like 19, you're like a little bit older. I'm like, yeah, just like fully, just like okay. And I remember there would always be a little murmur of it that I was trying to outrun, and there was a girl on my floor who was like, someone told me you're 16. Is that true? I'm like, they don't let 16-year-olds go to college. She's like, I was telling them that. I'm like, oh, another crisis averted. Like, I'm
And
Hannah
that's why you're
Montana.
the smart one, Kelly. Keep
Exactly.
keep on trucking.
Exactly. Thanks for stopping in. Do you need
What do
anything
you
else?
think like tipped people off to your 16ness?
Well, I think it was literally like there had to have been some sort of like paper that was informing them, right? Like, hey, there's a minor, so like if you're gonna get people in trouble for drinking, look for her. And I was so afraid to get in trouble that I didn't drink at all, like until sophomore year.
Okay, now we have an iconic thing that you have provided, which
Hmm.
is a screenshot of your MySpace page.
Hmm.
This is a beautiful relic.
Yeah, I'm pretty shook. I gotta say, like, this is actually a lot.
Um, so you're do you want to walk us through this page?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's just
let's
start with
walk
the quote.
through.
I mean, also like kind of amazing that it just says Akilah because I always had a vanity name, and for the longest time it was Diet Rockstar because that was the energy drink I was drinking. Um, I loved
Diet
it.
Rockstar is fun, but
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like a pretty cool name. And so yeah, the quote is "Yo home, smell you later," based on The Fresh Prince, which was not on TV still. I'm not MySpace isn't though. Um, and my mood was imaginative. I said I was from in Bufu, Kentucky, which is a phrase that I guess anyone who's from the middle of nowhere gets, like bumfuck Egypt, Bufu, Kentucky. Sure.
Mhm.
Um, it looks like I had some notifications waiting for me, but there on the other side, it's like, well, I don't know what this box is. It says Akilah's torn about haircuts and extensions. I don't think at any point I was getting my hair like professionally done. So I'm like, was I torn about other people's?
Yeah,
Wild.
maybe you just wanted to give off the impression that maybe you would be getting
Full.
extensions. You
A
know what?
billion
It's
percent.
this goes to show that Tina Keelan knew that there was better hair in her future.
Hmm. Right. There was no part of her that was unaware of like, look, this is a starting place, not a finish line.
This is something I'm doing right now because this is how it has to be.
Exactly. No one else knows how to do my hair here, and we're just gonna look like this. And then, there's this blog section, which like I went to the Disney College Program internship program in college, so I would have been 18 or 19 for those.
Mhm.
So this is like definitely late MySpace, where I'm still trying to be like, Facebook's not as good as MySpace, it's just a rip off. So I was spending more time on MySpace, even though like Facebook obviously ultimately became became
Yes,
good.
I remember trying to hold out too and being like, "No, I'm not going to give up my MySpace."
Right? I was like, why can't you customize your Facebook? Why does it have to be white?
Right?
Why do you
Exactly.
only get one picture?
It's so lame that you can't assault someone with a song the moment they come onto your
Right,
page.
exactly. And a song that you might not even remember is there, so you're scared every time. You're like, oh my God, why is Bathwater by No Doubt playing?
Yep,
Which was the song.
that was your song.
Again,
I had I
yes.
Want You to Want Me, the cover from 10 Things I Hate
Oh,
About You
I
for a
love
while.
that.
And then I also had Dead Kennedys Kill the Poor.
Oh, yo, I love
Be like,
that. I love that. Yes, I think at some point, like maybe the peak of me on MySpace was like Cobra Starship songs, like whatever those songs are. It was like that was who I wanted to be. I was like this cool girls with their swoop hair and a external headband.
yes. I wanted the hair that like people had like
Muffined.
leopard print and it was like
Yes.
the bump, like it was big on top and then it
Full.
became
Stringy.
really wispy and straight at the bottom.
Yes, and like it would be like, yeah, it would be like zebra stripes horizontally, so it'd be like a little fluffed and like
Mhm.
blurred, really
You
horrible.
would put like a one little bow in there. I wanted
Oh
that
my
so
God, the tiniest bow. Same. I remember saving pictures of girls like that and being like, I could just take this to any hair salon and they're like, what are you asking me to do exactly from this? And I'm like, I guess it is just a style, less of a
bad.
cut or anything.
They're like, "Oh, yeah. Can you
Yeah, they're
explain
like,
what
I
you
guess
want
we'll just
done?"
give you right.
Uh
Yeah, like I need it to muffin. I need a muffin and then strings. Strings. And so
So
then
you
yeah, oh.
have a number of blog posts here.
Mhm.
I mean, most seem to be from Disney. We have another one that says baby hot pants slash we make video now. Do you know
Yeah.
what this means?
I do. And I am like, I should be ashamed and somehow I'm not. If you look this up on YouTube, there is just the oldest video you've ever seen that's called Baby Hot Pants. And it is a commercial for adults wearing like tiny toddler shorts on their ankles and then just
Mhm.
like kind of kicking their feet around. But we like made a whole song and it was really good. It was like, wherever I go, people stop and they stare. They say, where? Oh, where can I get myself a pair of the Baby Hot Pants? And it was just a dumb sketch, and then it was like, I don't know if it was like an infomercial, because then there were also like a bunch of different characters we had. They were like, when I started wearing baby hot pants, like it was just very dumb. But we were like, we are sketch comedy geniuses, and the truth is, we were very like, for our campus, super viral, like 1,000 view video. But it's like that was all from the
Oh, that
campus.
was huge to get 1,000 view video. And also,
Yeah,
like,
major.
I feel like that was the time, like, comedy was rife for stuff like Baby Hot Pants. Just like
Mm-hmm.
Marcel the Shell with shoes
Yes.
on.
Yes.
Like,
Oh, amen. Yes. It was like it was before the Obama administration, maybe like in that that pocket. It had to have been, I think. And it's just really wild to think like, oh, well, the world was crumbling, we were approaching a recession, we were also just like already broke in college, so no real sense of that. And we're just like, oh, let's use our resources. It's gonna take 17 hours to upload this 1 minute video, and
yes.
we're just gonna do it.
Uh,
And
I
so yeah.
I do miss the old internet of like, first of all, like video websites, like going to Homestar Runner to see like what
Yes,
the
every day.
videos were or whatever. I was huge into like Brad Neely. He did Wizard People Dear Reader where he like
Oh
talked
yeah.
over Harry Potter, and he had a viral video about George Washington that was like, Washington, Washington, 6 foot
Yeah.
20 fucking killing for fun.
Yes, I remember this. Yes,
I
like there was like it was a
love
peak. of like it was a lot of Flash animation that I was obsessed with. Like there was something called Tiny Plaid Ninjas that I remember just like knowing like the back of my hand, and like all of Homestar Runner, but specifically Teen Girl Squad was like
Teen
my
Girl
sweet spot.
Squad. Oh, I loved Teen Girl Squad
Yes,
so
I
much.
still do. It's like it's so ridiculous how good those animations were. And I'm like, I mean,
Teen
Flash
Girl
doesn't exist
Squad.
anymore, so they must have just recorded and put it on YouTube by now. But like, man, that was like a ritual. It's like I'm done with class for the day. It's 4 o'clock. No one's ready for dinner. Let me go to Homestar Runner. See what the
Yeah, and if
voicemails are.
there was like a new Teen Girl Squad, I would be like, ah,
Yeah, I'd
yes,
be like, at everyone on AIM.
it's
Guys, get Teen
happening.
Girl Squad.
Oh my God. I miss. I mean, I feel
Me
like
too.
I always say that. I'm always like, kids don't get that. I actually don't know that. I
Right.
actually
And you know what I think? Yes.
and
Here's
TikTok
my
is funny as
yeah.
fuck.
Oh yeah, exactly. And like I think that like they're also more empowered to make things. So it's like we were so much more consumers than I think that they have to be now. But my theory is, here it goes, is that there's probably versions of what we had now. But like because there's so much stuff, there's no central like as teenagers we all liked this. Like it'll be just TikTok dances, not like a dance. Whereas for us it
Yes.
was like you were on this website. You were like and we all watched this. And it was like it's just this cultural across the board like experience. Whereas now I'm like, there's just gonna be tiny factions of nostalgia in the future, and also maybe none because it's like, well, there's always gonna be new stuff, and who cares to talk about it?
Yeah, like there are still some videos that break through and everyone sees them, but it's more in like the viral
Yeah.
whatever world. I mean, there'll be like front facing like characters and stuff that people do
Yeah.
that go super viral and stuff, but I feel like we grew up in this golden age of like weird flash animation
Yes.
videos about crazy shit and
Yeah.
everyone would watch
Yes. Totally. And it was always like, there was such a I don't know, it was a much smaller world in terms of like even TV shows. So it's like the references were all there. Like if you're gonna talk about Lost, I know the main characters even if I'm not like up to speed on the episode. Like you
yeah, like
just
I
had to be aware of things.
do you remember salad fingers?
Yes, and I remember being freaked out by it. And the people who would show it to you, I'd be like, I don't want to see this rusty spoon shit. Like, I get that you
Um,
like it.
I
It's
remember
not my.
I like vividly remember the image of his weird salad finger going on the rusty spoon. And I like
Yes. I was
hate,
like, this isn't for me. I'm not the target demographic. But similarly, do you remember Old Greg?
oh, yo, I did love old Greg though.
I
And now
I like
he's
I like the
hosting
right
Great
version.
British Bake Show.
That's him.
That's old Greg. That's old Greg.
I literally I have to go and stare into the abyss for 7 hours. I have
Akilah, it's
so
old
much
Greg.
grief. I didn't know. Oh, Greg was hosting wholesome TV. I thought he was in whatever that creek or gross lagoon he was
No,
in.
that
Fuck.
the delightful man who hosts Brew is old.
If nothing else from this podcast episode, I just know that me for it like knowing now that this was old Greg was enough. It was enough.
All right, I let's look through the next. I think we've got a prom picture here.
Yeah, woof, honey. Look at everybody. Know what? Oh, first of all, let's just start with the obvious. Shapewear didn't exist. There was no like pristine look. So like, this is me at a youthful teen skinny for me, and I'm like, it's pooching all over the place. Everybody's belly button is fully visible in
I
that
looked
gown.
so. My hair looked so crazy at
Oh, my
prom.
hair was bad. I
I
remember
think
I
prom
booked
looks
an
are
appointment.
always bad. Like,
Yeah, and like that's part of the charm, but we don't realize it at the time. And even now, I'm like, why am I so ashamed? Also, I'm hugging some girl that I couldn't tell you like if she even went to my high school. Like, who is that? Who is that? But
wait, did you
yeah.
go with a boy? What was Tina Akilah's dating situation?
Oh, it was so bleak. The truth is, I had no boyfriend. And the darkest, like the saddest thing, and like this is a person I'm still friends with. This boy, Mickey. I like my he I don't know if he had dated my friend Stephanie, but like they were on good terms and she was dating some football player by that point. And so like he was like a sweet speech and drama boy. And so I was like, look, I know you don't have somebody to go with. I don't have anybody to go with. Why don't we just go as friends together? So we like we don't have to take pictures or anything. Like I was already like downplaying my value. Like you don't even have to like tell people like
Yeah.
let's just go together. And he
Yeah.
told me, and I'm like, my mom said that she would pay for your tuxedo. And he was like, I'm just not gonna go to prom. I go to prom. He goes and he's wearing a suit from speech and drama. Not even a tuxedo, no tie, like no bow tie. He just went alone. And so
Wow.
I was like, you would rather not have someone to go with and wear this shit than fucking date me. And I was like,
Wow.
that is the biggest rejection. I mean, even still, I'm like, damn,
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
like,
snub
I
me for
don't
almost
know if
anything.
you. I feel like honestly, you should be grateful to him because that's the biggest, like, that's
Yeah,
so
fully.
fucked
Yeah,
up.
like
That, like,
actually, yeah, I'm like being traumatized at that age. It's like no one can hurt my feelings. That's why I have this blind, insane confidence where I'm like, guys, I'm gonna get what I want. You know why? Because like no one here is gonna make my feelings hurt any more
no,
than
no
Mickey
man
did.
is ever again gonna show. Like, you're never gonna show up at prom and have him be there again.
Yes.
So
Oh, woof. I mean, truly horrific. Also, like cliff notes on this look. My sister bought the dress for me, which I thought was really nice. But also my hair is doing a sort of George Washington shape, and it's because I didn't realize you had to get your hair done the same day of prom. So I did it the night before, smashed it all down, and then I'm like, this doesn't look like anything. And my mom's like, well, I have a curling iron, and she just like bumps the edges, so it's like real horrendous.
is
Like wasn't better up close.
it's coming in at an interesting
A
angle.
real triangle situation. Yeah, she was in a real pickle, a real triangle.
And it is funny because I feel the Akilah that I know is an extremely stylish woman who always has like cool hair going on. Like,
Thank
she knows what
you.
she's doing with her hair, she knows what she's doing with her style. But when you're a kid, it's
Nothing,
like
no
I guess this
guidance.
is a fancy dress. Like,
Right? I'm like, this seems like it's in line with what the kids, and we're all wearing kitten heels. I mean, just like and also like, look at, there's so little information in this photo, but I'm like, look at this bland ass suburb. Like, I don't know whose house we were at taking this photo. I'm pretty sure my mom was like parked and was like, all right, I'll drop you off. Like, I didn't
yeah,
fit in the limo with anybody. It was so bad. And I went home at like 11. Like, it was just
yeah.
nothing. And my period came, and then the chocolate fountain. They had a chocolate fountain at prom, which nobody wanted, and it
No.
exploded onto my dress. It was like I had poop on my
No.
front. But I did bond with like the coolest girl in my school, and she's like also like out in LA now, and we still are friends. But she was like the only left-leaning human being in my high school. She also was like the best looking person, like won every single like everybody here wants to kiss you award. Like she was just like that person. And I remember she was having a shitty night. Her boyfriend was like cheating on her in the bathroom or something. I don't know. And her dress was
Classic
this
prom.
huge pink puffy thing. And so we were just both seated because I'm like, I'm covered in chocolate. She can't move because the dress is too big. And we were just like sitting there. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like we could just talk about how much this blows. And it did. It was great.
That was actually, that brings me to one final thing I wanted to ask you about, which is,
Mm,
I mean, obviously you work at Crooked Now, you host
yeah.
What a Day, you're active politically, just in general with your voice. So, what was that like for you in high school? Were you as politically minded then as you are now? And how did that
Yeah.
play out with like your peers?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like there are levels to this. So it's like I think I'm probably the most outspoken I've ever been now, just because like the internet is so much broader, and also just like I'm not the first one saying things, so I'm not like tiptoeing in like, hey guys, just don't be racist to me, okay? And they're like, I'm gonna be racist. I'm like, okay. Like it was a lot of fear.
You
Um,
served my
but
food, so
yeah,
okay.
exactly. I'm like, it's okay. Like, yeah, no, it's fine. Like, I'll go to detention because you like told them that I threw that French fry. It wasn't me. I don't have French fries. Like, it's fine. Like, I just think you're racist. It's like, what'd you say? I'm like, nothing. So I was like a little nervous, but I also think that like I was political in very specific ways. Like I was always anti George W. Bush. I knew that that election was like a fucking theft. And so when John Kerry ran for office, like I had a shirt. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like we shouldn't be going to war. Of course, like I still agree with myself. I'm like, thank you for being on the right side of history.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I remember just like everybody was sort of dunking on me when he didn't end up winning. I'm like, great. So you're gonna go to war and die. So like, congrats, like idiot.
Yeah,
because
okay,
yeah,
Boone, Kentucky, like Boone County, Kentucky. Like, guess what they're
right.
getting everybody for this fucking war? Like,
Exactly. I mean, like that's another thing that I think about now living in LA, but before living in New York is that like, I had lots of progressive friends, I still do, but like there is this like, small town, poor, rural, suburbanish sort of community where I'm like, a lot of people died in the Iraq War where I was from. Like it wasn't rare. And so I'm like, why are you all and they're like, because we're fighting for the country. And I'm like, have you ever thought about if you wanted to live? Like I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I would fight for if I wasn't definitely gonna die.
yeah,
If you could
yeah,
guarantee my survival, happy to go on out there. But I'm like, if I'm just gonna go and get like murked, I would fight for something I care. Like I care about the country, but I don't think that this is it. Like
yeah.
it's all bad. And so I do remember like there was some class where there was a question about, um, like I don't even remember what it was. I said something about George W. Bush, and I like really like stuck to my guns, and it was like, Akilah, how can you say that? And like all the fucking like sports guys be like, no, that's my dad. I'm sad now. Shut up, Akilah. And I remember like that girl, her name's Tasha Courtney. She's great. Follow her on Instagram, I guess. Whatever. But
Shout out
I just
Tasha.
remember she like met me at the water fountain. Like I was drinking out of the water fountain, and I'm like, oh God, here we go. And she's like, I heard what you said. Like someone told me what you said in AP psychology. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I just want you to know, like, I'd be your accomplice. Like, I'm here with you, girl. And I'm like, you're the prettiest girl in the school, and everyone in the hallway is like circling around to be like, what's the conversation? And it's just her being like, comrade. So I was surely like I loved that. And then
That was literally her like drawing the fish, the like Christian fish in like ancient times on the ground in front of you, being like, I
yes,
too am a liberal.
yes, yes. And like it's so funny to think about like how like that was how small the community was. It was like we communicated through whispers at the water fountain. Like you couldn't
Yeah,
possibly go against the grain.
in Northern Virginia, it was really mixed. Like I
Mm.
remember, like it was just equal, like really equal
And you
parts.
like it's just a proximity to is it close to DC?
It is. I
Yeah.
was
So it's
like
like you
from
have like that
Fairfax
overflow.
County, so like I could skip and go into DC to see the panda,
That's right.
etc.
That's
So
right.
there was like a lot. There was a very active young Republicans and a very active young Democrats, but I remember being shocked when George W. Bush won again.
Same.
Shocked beyond,
Same.
and learned no lesson from that. Found myself shocked
I know
again
2016 was pretty
a
ugly for me, I
decade
gotta
later.
say. Yeah, it was like truly just hello darkness, my old friend. And I'm like, Akilah, I mean, maybe it was certainly now like a bigger loss, but God, like, it's just such a painful thing to be involved in. Like politics, it would be so easy if we were stupid and didn't care, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
feel like
wouldn't
that's a
like
really
myself.
great place for us to end it. So I am going to ask you our final question of the pod, which
All
is
right.
if you could talk to teen Akilah, what would you tell her?
Mm. I think I was a teen that cried a lot, and so I would probably start with Akilah. A lot of worse stuff is gonna happen, and she's just like start like welling up and I'd be like, but also you stay good looking and only get better looking, and you don't live here anymore. Like the future isn't here. And she's like, where is it? I'm like, New York and Los Angeles. And she's like, am I a coastal elite? I'm like, I guess.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like things are going well. You get what you want, and she'll be like, yes, I won't be broke forever. And
You'll
then
be
she'll
a blue
remember,
check liberal. What? What did
yes,
he
exactly. Like, what's up, blue tech?
say?
What is Twitter? Come back.
I have so many questions. Come back.
Exactly. Oh, is this like a thing? Is this a joke? We look the same, kind of. You're just kind of like rounder.
I stand by all of those messages. I think those are
Yeah,
beautiful messages. Thank you so much for doing the pod. I feel like we
of
could have
course.
forever about this.
Yes, this is always my favorite show to do. Like the truth is, I think that like you're just so funny. This people are gonna be like,
Oh,
what is this part of the thing? But I like honestly, in the hellscape, what a light to be able to laugh for an hour about the doofus I
truly,
was in high school.
truly. And for everyone listening at home, I hope you feel the same way. And this has been the Roast of Your Teenage Self podcast.